Chosen One!
Welcome to The Chosen One. I am your host, Qui-Gon Din, and today we are going to be talking about a fun subject with none other than Hunter from Clan of Two. Hunter, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well. As those that listen to the podcast, I'm now getting back into Shatterpoint, and I've already got a couple games planned out for the week. So I'm really excited to get back into Shatterpoint after a little bit of a break.
Yeah, testing time begins. Worlds is locked in and definitely going to be interesting. We got a shakeup with the new mission coming out though 2 weeks before the event. Uh that throws a wrench into
Yeah, I haven't even begun to. Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't really began to look into testing or planning or anything of that nature. So it's going to be quite interesting to look into it. I'm not sure if the every mission has been leaked yet, or not leaked, but revealed yet. But if every mission is, I'll probably be starting to play on it because I'm already very familiar with the rest of the missions.
yeah, it's a very interesting layout. It's close to first contact, except take away the two far side points, which is interesting. A lot of center. I think it's going to be a killy map. I think everything converging onto that center point is tricky.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mosh pit in the middle for sure, and you know it's gonna be interesting with the current meta that we have, which is mainly revenge.
Well, the revenge is partially the meta, but this gets into our main topic. I think the meta is more wound heavy than even the last meta. I think we are a lot more aggressive now than ever before, and that's just because everything in their mother right now is playing aggro, aggression. With the way Cassian is designed, you kind of can't play safe anymore. Of I'm going to play a scoring list like Ewoks. I feel bad for Ewoks being in the middle of Boss and Cassian.
Yeah, the wounding right now has been very bad. I mean, we've seen all the base and short plays that they're able to, you know, on Shatterpoint delete pretty much anything they look at. And then Boss, his entire box and every one of the clones just kind of work together to just wound as much as possible as well.
Yep. And that brings us to the kill button. The importance of having units that you can pretty much guarantee getting a kill with in your list. And this is something that I have kind of like talked a little bit here and there on my channel, but I think right now having, two or three units in your list that could just go, I'm going to melt something if I need to, is very important right now.
Definitely agree, especially when you're playing against. Let's take for example, you're playing against a Cassian. You won't be able to avoid when the revenge triggers will happen. But what you can do is, you know, draw the card that you know that is going to guarantee you a kill, and plan around when you get those kills, so you can plan around that revenge trigger a little bit more carefully instead of just, you know, willy nilly killing everything on the board.
But sometimes there's another strategy into revenge with this too. If you build your whole deck to be kill cards, you could just out aggro revenge lists in general. Cassian Jin is very prone to this. I've noticed playing that list a lot. It could just get out blitzed and out wounded, and the revenge triggers don't matter if everything's dead.
Yeah, I don't. As someone that has played a lot of aggro in the past, and I've been moving more towards control. The I don't care if you're moving people around if they're all dead, because they don't really do anything at that point.
And that's where this meta is interesting. Because right now, I have definitely have seen the downswing of Kanan. I think he's less prevalent now than he was last meta. Uh, and I think as a Delta player yourself, I definitely think you can attest to that with just how much auto damage you can do.
It's not so much the auto damage; it's just the amount. If you look back almost a year ago at this point, when Kanan was at its high, You didn't have a lot of great options. You had the options, but they were never all that great to really, utilize any damage outside of a combat action, because that's Kanan's like big thing. It doesn't matter like how it happened, as long as it was through an attack. That's all that mattered. That counted for the Kanan trigger. Now you don't really have to like. There's so many good options. You have boss. You have seven scorch. You have. This is just me as a Delta player, so I'm listing a bunch of clones. But even as Ewok players, you have the Leia Freedom Fighter that has the option of doing the bomb just like boss does. So there's a lot of really great options out there now that gets around that whole doing a wound and not being a combat action, which really plays down on that Kanan player, which is really why I think that he's being pretty much knocked down a couple of pegs since the rise of Cassian and the rise of Boss.
I also think it has to do not enough specters in your list anymore, and I don't. If I don't have to worry about Kanan attacking me back, I'm just gonna kill the supports, kill Cassian. And the Ezra's good, Kanan's good, and Callus is good, but they, other than Kanan, they really can't impact multiple points at a time.
No, I think there's a very specific situation where I've seen Ezra and or Sabine impact multiple points, but it's been a very unique board state that it's not very consistent. And then Kanan, like you said, is the only one that could really Kanan or Hera, but Hera's seeing a lot less play right now since the rise of Cassian. So I will say that there isn't a lot of great option for affecting multiple points, where you have to kind of bring the two body supports with Kanan if you want to bring him, because it's just hard to really take a 3-point swing or a 4-point swing with just a one body support.
Yeah. And that's like the strength of Cassian right now. Cassian puts so much power into your supports that your secondaries can be a little. That's like the trick I've noticed with Rebel secondaries in general, is that the Rebel secondaries are very much like a toolkit, but they are not like synergy. I'm going to improve your whole team. They're going to improve your team in niche areas. Ezra, with his tie breaking and his own activation, he can kind of get to where he wants to go. You got Callus, who's really good with the rerolls, and then you got Sabine, who's kind of like the more generic one. But I think Sabine's like seeing a lot less play than in either Callus or Ezra.
I agree, and it's Callus has the one thing of he rolls 9 dice, and I think he has shove 1 and 2, and as we know, the game isn't really about wounding. The game is really about capturing points, and getting people off of points is definitely a very efficient way of capturing points back from your opponent.
Yep. But in the current game state, wounding is getting more important. It's not how you win the game, but it's how you secure the ability to score out later in the struggle, I feel. I definitely think we're seeing games hit higher wound counts than we have previously. That a lot of that has to do with Cassian's
Yeah,
bomb.
I would agree. The average, yeah, Cassian's bomb is disgusting. It does so much damage if you lose a struggle, and uh it may not kill on that flip of a struggle, but it sets up like 4. I've seen it set up 4 kills on my end, and I'm like, well, that sucks. They're all gonna die here soon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Rebels don't have a kill shot on their first run through in their deck outside of their Shatterpoint card. I've noticed that, commandos don't, without the Shatterpoint, commandos and Base and Turret don't really gun things down left and right. It's on the Shatterpoint card that you really got to watch out for. But after the Cassian bomb hits, everything in the list becomes a kill shot.
Yeah, Rebels feels more of a peppering kind of faction instead of being a like an Anakin, where I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna kill whatever I'm looking at. I don't care if it spends 5 force to do it. I'm gonna kill whatever I'm looking at, or a Vader, or like Emperor Servant or Iden that runs across the map and then takes out whatever it's looking at as well. They are more of a peppering kind of faction, where they aren't gonna kill on the first like order deck until you get that Shatter Point, where you can get the Cassian buff to them. But into that second order deck, you're gonna get kill almost every single draw. You're gonna be able to get a kill, which is a very different playstyle that a lot of people don't realize that's how like Rebels really wants to be played.
Yep. And that's where it lies in the Cassian Hunter or the Cassian matchup into like Boss in general. Boss has a huge advantage in the early game, and it kind of switches to Cassian's advantage by the end of the game. And the idea that I've seen with this matchup is Cassian or Boss needs to win early and they need to win fast. The second everything starts getting peppered down by that bomb, the clones can just kind of melt. At least that's my experience.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. If you can't, I've played against a lot of Cassian as a boss player, and it's very hard for me to beat. I think, we're talking about the wounds and everything else like that. I played against Matt Booker at LVL, what great player, loved the game. It was very, very heart wrenching the whole time. I had a singular wound the entire game, and he was playing Cassian Han with Ezra and the Commandos and Bazin Shirt, and it was a lot of planned every single move, every single attack kind of thing.
Han throws a huge wrench because Han's revenge attack is kind of dumb when you add Cassian into the mix.
Oh yeah.
For
All right, so I'm gonna launch this Han character up the board, and then he's gonna make a range 4 attack that does 4 damage, pretty much guaranteed every time.
it's good. Again, you gotta against Cassian. You really need to take struggle 1. If you don't take struggle 1 against Cassian, I think your chances of winning that match are pretty slim. And that's just because if you're not beating him struggle 1, well, now everything's getting peppered down. And if it goes to struggle 3, well, you got peppered down twice by that bomb. Good luck.
Yeah.
Bomb's got to be addressed. I also think Boss's bomb needs to be addressed a little bit. It shouldn't be range 3 from any clone.
No, I don't know if it needs to be range. I think the range 3 of any clone is fine. I think the issue is more of it's any objective. It doesn't need to be an active objective, and I feel like on a struggle flip, Boss's bomb, if you draw him on the start of a struggle, can be really devastating. Whenever you're like, all right, I get to move my people first. I chose Boss, so I get to move every Delta squad within 4, and then I get to move myself, and then I get to do my bomb, or I get to move somebody else. And then I get to do 3 damage to all of the characters that were just on an active objective, but are no longer on that active objective yet.
Yep, Boss is real good. I'm not taking him to the event. I have a love-hate relationship with Boss. I can give him all the dice in the world, and every time I've played him, he gets 3 down his tree, and that's it.
I have seen that I usually get 4 down the tree, depending on how much damage I put on him. Sometimes I can get full tree every single time I play the game.
Yeah,
it's really, really up in the air with how dice want to treat you that day.
yeah. It's also like there's just play patterns. I also detest the Boss Cassian mirror match, and I also detest the Boss mirror match. I do not like either of those matchups going into that, because Boss versus Boss feels kind of like the old Iden mirror match. Whoever gets the better boss activations are going to have a huge advantage.
Yeah, I've got a plan for my boss mirror matches. I've kind of designed my list around a weird general rule, but then obviously I have a couple of different setups that kind of make it feel a little bit better here and there.
Yep. But no. So let's get into the kind of the kill. What would be the kill button of your Delta list? Whatever your favorite Delta list you want to talk about is. What would you say would be like the kill shot cards in your list that you can go, I can guarantee a wound with these activations? Because I know there's like 2 or 3 of them in Delta list specifically.
Yeah, so if I take, I'll go off of a previous event, my number 1 list that I've ever played with Boss, and that's Boss Hunter, Wrecker, and the 212. Yeah, 212 are what I was running at LVO, and then I had Delta Box just as normal. And my my kill list is quite drastic. I feel like I have so many options with that list. I mean, obviously, boss is going to be that obvious pick that I'm going to be like, all right, he can obviously get a kill. He can do so much damage. He has a bomb. He likes taking damage, so he can get extra dice. You know, we have that. But then you also have to look at the other characters. I think Fixer is that kind of middle ground. He's not going to be doing a lot of damage. He might be able to finish off a kill, but I'm not going to really expect him to. We have 7 Scorch. Now, if I can get a situation where I can get a pin, a coordinated fire pin from the 212, and I can get the Fixer dice, then I think that they're pretty much guaranteed a kill as well. Hunter, depending on the target, and if they want to be in melee, I usually can guarantee a kill with that. And if I have a lot of force left over, I think Wrecker can do just the same, both with ha 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 yeah, where you can make another attack, or the was it sneaking, where you can just roll some dice and do some damage that way. And then surprisingly enough, if you can get some Fixer dice for the 212th and get a focus, they're pretty much guaranteed to get a kill with how fast their damage can spike. So it's very interesting to see that I designed my list in a way that it's not supposed to kill, because it does play well into the Cassian, but at the same time you have the other option, or the other aspect of I can kill with anything on my list except for Fixer, unless I've done something terribly wrong.
Yeah, I've been playing. So I definitely agree with that. When I'm looking at that boss hunter list, obviously I'm looking at Seb Scorch, boss, and 212 being kind of your murder machines, where if they focus down stuff, Seb and Scorch can kill pretty much anything they focus fire at and like just gun down. Boss is something we know with you add the 2 damage from his bomb, his ability to just go, I'm gonna spike dice and play that game. Hunter, I've had less luck actually getting wounds with him in terms of trying to wound healthy units, but with the extra dice from Fixer, I definitely think it helps.
Yeah, Hunter is the one that I'm like the only one that I feel less confident that I can get a kill with, because he isn't really there for kills. He's gonna walk up, and if he needs to, he can quadruple shove somebody away from a point into no man's land, away from every point that's active. But he's never really there for a kill. He just moves somebody else, and then he keeps fixing everybody's dice across the board, changing a fail to a hit, which has been really nice. But I don't really. Whenever I draw him, I'm never expecting to, kill a unit. He is one of the other ones that can, like Fixer, finish off a kill. But when it comes to actually getting a kill, I don't usually see that happening. I do get a little bit more success out of him whenever I get the Fixer dice on the first like up to 10 die melee attack, which can do really set up the 5 die attack on the next one.
Yeah, the I think the thing that like hurts Hunter's attrition a lot is the fact that that he no longer has access to that coordinate fire exposed. I think that was a lot of the early game where he was able to really get in on that wounding aspect. But with how Delta plays, the list can play control very good. When it comes to the Cassian kill button, again, it comes down to definitely the Shatterpoint in your first deck through is kind of the one thing I'm looking at. Okay, these guys can get a wound on the Shatterpoint very reliably. Base and Turret are one of those units where I've noticed they can kind of kill like regular clones in one turn, but they have a hard time killing things like the Aqua Droids or Delta in one turn without that Shatterpoint card.
See, I kind of feel the other way around. I feel like they can normally kill anything that is a support or secondary, and it usually just comes down to defensive expertise, because their offensive expertise is kind of insane, even with their even without the Shatterpoint. What I think that they usually struggle to do is doing that 10 damage, which unless you have protection, like you mentioned, the Aqua Droids, and I think 7 Scorch are in that situation, they can normally take out most of everything else.
Yeah, that's kind of like I was getting at. Is like if they focus fire, they can take down basic level stuff. It's stuff they're gonna have a hard time. They're gonna have a hard time going into Chewbacca, Wrecker, things like that.
Yeah.
But things like the standard clone, the like 212th or Wolfpack or 501st, they're going to be able to gun them down. It really comes to when it comes to these 5 cost supports, I don't even see Bazin turret wounding Han and Chewie consistently in one activation without the Shatterpoint. Again, it's that 10 health that really keeps them alive. But the problem with them is they're just going to condition stack the crap out of you.
Yeah, like they have so many conditioned on their tree. It's so disgusting.
I
The only thing that I think that might play in vary of killing a 10 health unit, I'm trying to pull them up just so I can actually uh, free them correctly. In going into Hanachuya specifically, if you can get to 3, which you should be able to with Hanachuya's expertise being very bad, you get an expose, which is pretty disgusting. And then the next time, if you do anything else, you can then full tree normally, which means you're doing 4 damage. If you can get if you can full you can kill them as long as you get the expose on 3, but on that first attack you got to get 4 through. So if you can get 4 through on the first attack and then do a full tree on the next one, you can kill anything with 10 health, which sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it's again. Without the Shatterpoint, I've had mixed results with them. The base and shirts expertise are good, but they don't get additional results off of expertise. It's like 1 for 1. So you still kind of got to get through the dice spikes. And with the 8 attack, you can do it. But generally, they're weird with their stance flipping because it's either a 7 die or 8 die attack. And rarely are they getting 8 die attacks on their first attack because most of their play pattern right now is that they start on the turret side and then they switch to the melee side so that they can get that steadfast on points until they activate again. Which means unless they're getting in melee combat, they're not really getting that 8 die range attack or that 8 die melee attack probably on more than 1 unit. I don't know. Their timing is also weird with their stance flipping. Their output fully is determined on what stance they start in and what stance they go into the next round. I think cool design, but I think their tactic is a little overtuned.
Yeah, their tactic is the one thing that I don't like about them. I don't like. Let's take for example the clones, Rebel Commandos, or even like the ISF. The downside for them is that they're very force hungry. Like you need a force every single time you activate them, but you kind of when they get wounded, it becomes harder to use them. Whereas it's kind of the opposite with Bathe and Turret, where you want to kill the supports because they're 2 bodies. Sounds great, but then they never really have a force deficit. They're still always force neutral, which always hurts when you're trying to plan out your turn and plan out what actions you need to take against these characters. But I wouldn't say that they're never necessarily bad to wound because, again, it's the wound button on Base and Turret, I think, is very important because, yes, you don't get force neutral, but if you can wound them early enough to where they aren't able to be shadow pointed without them being like risk of being taken off the point or taken off the board, then I think that it's a little bit harder to decide whether you want to wound them or not. But I think in most cases, Base and Turret are going to be those characters that you do want to wound. And in the order deck gods that rule over Shatterpoint here, if you can get lucky enough to have them in a risk of being removed from the table, it ends up playing off in your favor very, very well. Going if you can make it to the 3rd struggle at that point.
That is, against rebels. Your number 1 strat should be kill base and turret as soon as possible and kill rebel commandos as soon as possible. If they are just playing with their secondaries and primaries, Cassian can't flip 2 points consistently.
No, he cannot.
He's also his attacks are pretty middling. He does damage, but that's about it. And then the other primary, if it's like PLC or whatnot, PLC can move a lot of bodies around, but if your bodies are dead, it doesn't matter. Definitely the wound button on your list. This is why I say you need units in your list that can gun down supports. Supports are the number 1 thing you need to wound. And this is where Republic and Empire shine. They have characters in their tags that can just gun down supports better than anything else in the game, really. You got things like even your secondaries, like Crosshair, you can throw in. Crosshair's like number one target is to kill commandos before they even activate. And it's almost guaranteed that he does it. He's going to pling that damage, take away their hunger, and he's going to throw 10 dice at them with their really bad defensive expertise.
Yeah, that's always been my play whenever I try it. Whenever I go against commandos, because you usually have to use that infiltrate to really get the most value out of them. If you have a really nice board and you have a really good player, they're gonna put them as in like on top of the point, so it's a little bit harder for them to get to it. But then you don't have to worry about them running up because the terrain puts it in a way to where you can't actually see them, or they're not at the highest elevation or anything else like that, which I think it all depends on kind of a case to case basis with them, but usually commandos are one of the first ones to go, and that's because of the infiltration that they have.
Yeah, they also, I have, in my opinion, I've seen some players start switching away from commandos for that very specific reason, because if they go down before they activate, they actively become a detriment to your list. Just because, oh, cool, you're going to wake them up. Well, now you're spending a lot of force, and I'm just going to kill them again. And they're
Yeah.
gone, end of first struggle. Cool. You don't have to worry about them the rest of the game. Bays and turret are a lot harder to deal with. The kill button on trying to kill Bays and turret in one round, I think that I only think a couple lists can actually really do that. I think Delta is one of them. I think Boss can potentially kill Bays and turret. But really, if I'm looking at what do I want to kill Bays and turret with one shot consistently, I'm looking at Vader Jedi Hunter lists. I'm looking at Jedi Hunter. I'm looking at Iden with Vader. It's probably the most consistent way of, your primaries can just gun down Bays and turret every time they activate. That's kind of what I would be looking at. Vader is a sleeper primary. I think he is currently the third best primary to build around in the game of Shatterpoint.
Yeah, I think he got really overlooked once we got the Grand Inquisitor kind of update, because we had a lot of other options for Vader, and then he was like, we had other options for just Inquisitors in general, because he is only 7 point, and you really want to be able to bring other units, and then there's the other things. But I will say, I did get really really surprised by shout out to Chris, Purist Chris over at that won the LVO Grand Tournament. He actually had an Iden uh, Vader Jedi Hunter list, and it completely ran me over. It was a very good list. It played very well, and it was very interesting to see how those two interacted. And he was able to consistently one shot a lot of things on my list that had the higher health pool, like Boss and Boss Hunter and Wrecker.
And I think that this is why I think Vader is the third best primary. He's the sleeper primary to watch out for at Worlds or anything in the current meta. He has a blanket good matchup against a lot of good stuff right now. Hunter or any Obi-Wan list, Obi Delta, can get run over by both Vader Iden or Vader Kiadamundi. Both of those lists are kind of sleeper, in my opinion, that they cover a lot of matchups, and even against some of the Cassian variants, they just overrun them. Again, if I see Cassian Jin on the table, I will actively throw Vader into that matchup because everything's gonna die. I don't care about your revenge triggers. You're not like attacking me back with your revenge triggers. You're just moving your guys up closer to the board. Cool. I now have more stuff to kill. Wood into
Yeah,
the wood
Vader
chipper.
really deals with the weird Cassian list when they aren't running full revenge and they're running that Jin. It makes it very easy to just cool. You're moving people around. Well, what if I just kill everything?
And even the Cassian Kanan variant against Vader, if they're only running the 3 Spectre units, well, Vader, the rest of your list job, this is specifically more for the Vader Mundi list. The Vader Mundi into Cass and Kanan is interesting because you just make it Vader's job to kill the supports and to kill Cassian. The rest of the Spectre stuff in the list, you can just play the shove game on it with your Jedi or whatnot and go, cool, I don't care. You're never going to get a Cassian or a Kanan attack off against me. And Mundi, and also, if you do make an attack against one of my units with like a Kanan and you're attacking a Jedi, well, now you're going to take deflect damage. And you might just prone yourself to killing your primary that's moving around. There's just a lot of counterplay that Vader has where even into the revenge matchups, you have to be a little bit more careful. I think this is going to be more of an issue that Vader's going to have an issue against Han. Han is that revenge trigger that can kind of punch through anything that's wounding just because Han is amazing with Cassian. But Vader's in an interesting spot in the current game. I definitely think he is, in my opinion, something that I don't think you should be taking Delta with Cassian as your premier list, trying to play the two best lists in the game, because then you get caught into some real bad list chicken.
Yeah, that's I've actually I almost ran into that just recently because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to bring, and I was like, well, I could just bring the two best lists in the game, but then what do I do against like a mirror match, and they're running full rebels, and I have to play Cassian there to maybe play the mirror match, or I could play my boss hunter list, but if I choose wrong, then I might just get ran over if that's the case. So. Building a list in this meta has been a lot of fun comparative to last year. So I will say that. And I don't know if, just taking the two best lists in the game is really going to net you overall the best, because a lot of people are doing that. So I've actually tailored my list around what do I do if I see both of them? What do I do if I see not both of them, kind of thing.
My opinion on list building right now is that you build an all-comers list, something you're very comfortable with, that no matter what the matchup, at least you know the list. You make it good enough so you have quality enough units, but then you take another list that you're comfortable running, but you make it a hard pivot to counter a lot of different lists, kind of make it like a fishing net, see what you can catch. Vader is that good primary for that second list because of his blanket ability to fight so many matchups. And I definitely think that's kind of a strat that you can use, because I have a hot take. I think it is a mistake to take boss into Cassian, but I also think it's a mistake for taking Cassian into boss. I think it's a matchup you actively want to avoid because there's so much variance in that fight.
Yeah, the first player is going to have an advantage. The first person over the struggle is going to be an advantage. The first person with the Shatterpoint is going to be an advantage. It's all variables that you can't really account for in that game, which makes that matchup so hard to actually really get down to it. Even on either side, like there's not going to be a one winner every time. It's going to be more of a 50-50 every time you put those models on the table.
It's very much the case. Like I've noticed that the Cassian players have such a hard time dealing with a turn one boss that just takes the midline, and they're fighting on the back foot the whole game, and they lose struggle one real quick. I think it gets rough, especially on shifting, for the Cassian player to just go, I'm going to catch up. Well, not when you can't even, you have a hard time getting the midline, and they just forcing you on your back line the whole time. But at the same time, if your boss gets bottom decked or whatnot, and now all of a sudden it's kind of a more grinded out game, I've noticed boss has some the issues with its order deck. Like you pull Wrecker and then you pull Fixer back to back, you kind of are in the same type of boat. You're in a bad spot.
Yeah, what I've learned is in that very specific situation is that you don't reserve Wrecker, you just play Wrecker.
That's
guess what may or may not have happened in my top cut game at LVO. That exact situation.
You were forced to activate Fixer, and then Fixer got gunned down, didn't he?
It was within like 2 turns, Fixer was dead. I'm like, awesome. I done this to myself. I will learn from this mistake without a doubt.
That's like the weakness of the Delta list. The Delta list also the force economy is really tight. In the later parts of the game, the economy of the list is fully hingent on whether or not boss gets wounds, and that can backfire. It's like I said, they need to win the game hard and fast. Cassian is much better at playing the I'm just going to grind it out because my bomb is going to do the work for me. And
Yeah.
and problem with Cassian is that their supports get bottom decked and they're forced to keep going with all their primaries and secondaries. Well, now they're screwed because all of the power in the Cassian list is in the supports.
Without a doubt.
And that's where I think the kill button is interesting. I think Republic is, I want to say Cassian has probably got the highest tuned single list, but I think Republic has the best overall premier list.
I think that's because of the variability that you have with Republic lists. Like you can choose each primary based on what you want, and you can choose each secondary based on what you want. And that's the thing that Republic has always had, the secondaries. Yes, they've had a lot of primaries and you've had this and that, but really what's come down to the Republic list is the secondary options. There's so many options and they all can kind of tailor to what the type of list that you want and where you want it to go with it. But it's not really the same as, other factions where the secondaries there's like 2 or 3 good ones and you always take those.
I think Empire's close with its secondaries. Empire has a lot of good generic secondaries, but Empire's biggest weakness right now is they don't have that 5 cost support yet. They don't have that heavy workhorse support. I think they're going to get it though with the Morgan Elsbeth box. I think those night troopers are going to be very effective on the board.
I think this, like when we look at it, we talk about the meta, we talk about all this, but the game's still very, very new. So as the game, builds and more characters come out and this and that and everything else that, game companies do with tabletop games, I'm sure we'll get to the point where every faction is the exact same, like options and not the same play style or anything else like that. But what I mean is that you have options when you're choosing different things here and there. You have this and you have that. You have secondaries that kind of fit each type of play style, and you have supports that fit every play style. Same with primaries. But I think, looking back a year ago, we didn't even have a full fleshed out Empire, and now we're getting there. We didn't have a full fledged Rebel, but we were almost there, and now we feel like we really are there. And then Mandos is still lacking, and same with Separatists. So it's like the longer the game comes out, the more I think that we'll have the options for every kind of faction and playstyle.
I definitely agree. I think we're in a good spot with the meta. The game's just Worlds is going to be really tough because of how the meta is both not diverse, but it's also super diverse. Like it is Boss and Cassian, but each of those lists have like several other pairings. Like, yeah, the Cassian show is basically going to be Cassian, Commandos, and Baze and Turret, but the tech slots of your secondaries and your other primary defines that list, and they all play very differently. The difference between Cassian and Cassian Jin and Cassian PLC is night and day. The difference between like a boss Hunter and a boss Obi-Wan is completely different for how the lists function. Obi-Wan's a more of a control mid-range type of list, where Hunter is you can pivot on a dime.
Yep. And little thing about me is I don't like the boss Obi list. I never have, and I don't think I ever will play it. But it is one of those things that it's not really that I don't like Obi. I mean, it's not that I don't like a boss. I like both of those characters. I actually started the game playing Obi-Wan a little over 2 years ago now. So then thinking about why I don't like those together, and it's just how the list wants to function. But I love Boss Hunter. Boss Hunter is where I've lived, and LVO shows that when I won 4 games in a row with Boss Hunter against every type of list.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan, my issues with that the Obi-Wan boss list is the force economy can go sideways real quick. Uh, you want to be trying to reserve so you can get Obi-Wan up the board sometimes, and sometimes Obi-Wan just can't pivot. And it's relying on the hunker strategies, and sometimes that works, but against boss hunter, the hunkers don't matter.
Yeah, it's the thing is like that list wants 7 or 8 force, and you only have 5, and you can only get to a max of 7. If anything falls through for whatever reason, if you have to reserve twice, if you're playing against a Moth and you still want to reserve, if you don't get the kill with boss when you need it, everything goes sideways.
I've tried boss with things. I've tried boss with mace, and I absolutely detest that list. I don't think it's good. It solves the force economy, but it causes other issues.
Yeah, I actually detest the Mace boss list as well, mainly because Mace needs people to move him. The boss list wants people to move clones. Mace is not a clone. End of discussion.
Exactly. Like if you go, well, what if you want to play like one of the big heavy hitting primaries to go along with boss? I'm like, if you do that, you play Vader. Just play Vader. Like Jedi Hunter with boss is disgusting.
I've only get to see it, but it is something that it is on the radar. I saw it at LVO, and I was like, wow, that's you're rolling how many dice with boss in a melee attack? That's disgusting. Okay, got it.
Well, Fixer also starts doing some fun stuff with melee because he has
Yep.
a lot of heals and he just doesn't care. He'll get access to pretty much his full bottom tree, which is like 4 damage, 3 heals, and a condition, a shove, and like a reposition. And so he becomes super mobile and hard to deal with. So you can keep him like really flighty. And then 7 Scorch, when you give him melee, extra melee dice, they can do a lot of things when you add that with the Fixer dice. It's just like the ultimate dice bucket list, and it gets really cute. I also love Vader's ability to make niche supports into absolute monsters.
Yes.
Padawans under Vader, pretty good. But when you put Naboo handmaidens under Vader, oh boy, do they become something that will kill any support in the game. I think if they get into melee with 7 Scorch, they have something like an 81% chance to just wound them outright in both their attacks. If they focus melee onto 7 Scorch and melee with their kit.
Yeah,
They
they are a disgusting support when you pair them with Vader.
very, very powerful. They also will do the same thing to base and turret. Like 6 damage and a lot of conditions, expose on 3 with a disarm in there. They just the problem is they don't have shoves. And I think it's only Vader that really unlocks them. My latest take is I used to love Sabe. I think she's the worst unit in the Padme box.
Interesting.
But
I am surprised by that take because I always thought the handmaidens were the worst.
I can find places to play with the handmaidens. I really like the handmaidens with Padawan snips because they can trigger her ability to get the jump, and the mobility of the handmaidens. It makes snips with handmaidens feel like Mandalorians, where they can just kind of get to wherever they want on the map and not care. And I'm playing that with like Vader and Mundi, so it's like it's just
That
adding.
makes more sense.
It adds into that. The problem I've had with Sabe is that she needs to activate after a primary, but before your handmaiden supports. Her
Yeah, she is kind of a weird situation with with where she wants to be activated in the order that kind of can screw you in different situations.
and Padme, I think Padme actually has a place now. It's a niche place. You got to play her with a specific primary, but I think 7 Scorch with Padme is real and does a lot of work. I'm playing the list. I'm not sure if you've seen Desert Spirals games with it. He's got a couple of them on YouTube that have been recorded. The list has a lot of firepower. Something to watch out for. The Padme is, and she's only going to get better. We got Qui-Gon Jinn coming out.
Yeah, I haven't even began to think what the synergies of that's going to be, because that's going to be quite interesting to see as well. Just the fact that we're able to get more Jedi from before the Clone Wars, so like they don't care about clones, but obviously that box, and you even see from the movie, they have a lot of other things kind of going along with them, which will be a lot of fun.
I'm excited for the new stuff. So, what all events did you sign up for at Adepticon? I know you're signed up for Worlds and Teams. Are you going to Adversaries to Allies or anything like that?
I am not, and it's not that I didn't want to. It's just I don't want to be. Last year at Adepticon, I played like 18 games of Shatterpoint over like 4 days. Loved it, had so much fun. But I also am getting interested in a game called Halo Flashpoint. It's something I've been wanting to just play a little bit more. I haven't actually had the chance to. Shatterpoint is taking up a lot of my time. Nothing wrong with that. I love the game. Want to make that clear. Love Shatterpoint. I always will love Shatterpoint, and I will continue to play Shatterpoint even on the competitive side. But I do want to just not have a game every 10 minutes, right? When I get done with one, I want to go to another, or I have to go to another. And I know Thursday we're playing the team, Friday is the Worlds. I have my hopes up that I'm going to make day two. And I should be able to get to day two. So I didn't sign up for the second premiere event then. And then Sunday, I just wanted a chill day, maybe go see some Halo Flashpoint with my friends Jesse and Kevin, or if it's anything else that might interest me, and just walking around and doing stuff.
That's kind of my deal too. I am in the Adversaries to Allies now. If I play in it or not, I don't know. I just signed up for it. If I don't feel like playing it, I'll just drop from it. It's what I kind of did last year. I ended up playing it, but I am hoping to do the same. I am in the team tournament. Got my list all figured out. I already pretty much have all my lists locked in for the event. I think the only thing that changes that is if Morgan Elspeth gets released before Adepticon. Uh, and if that's the case, I'll be playing some Morgan Elspeth Mando. But
And you just made me remember that me and Griff have to actually figure out our list, because it's not the same structure for the team tournament. It's a team premiere.
yeah, so the team tournament is interesting, and if you want some the cool tips, uh, it's a place where niche supports can really shine.
Okay.
Because if let's say you try to play a rebel premiere, well, you guys want to play rebels, you can't repeat the pairings, which means you only get 2 games with Baze and Trick, 2 games with Rebel Commandos. Only 1 game possible to play them both at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So really forces you to go who gets the commandos, who gets base and turret. Are you gonna play them on the opposite sides, or is one player going to take both base and turret and rebel commandos for their 2 squads? That way you have either base or turret and commandos in at least one of them in every game that you play. That's the kind of
Yeah.
like thing that this format creates. It does not favor trying to do min max. You try to min max, uh, you're gonna have some really awkward pairings.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun when we sit down and actually decide that. But I'm with you on the other thing of like my worlds list was set pretty much right after LVO. I didn't really think that I haven't done like a lot of testing against it, but all of the testing that I had done right before LVO and the Austin GT and LSO pretty much unless something drastically changes with Morgan Elsbeth, I'm not really too worried, and I feel pretty confident bringing my list.
I am too. The Morgan Elspeth, I actually think will change the meta more than Balin Skull at the beginning. I think Balin is so open and so it's going to take a while, I think, for people to really crack Balin Skull. But Morgan Elspeth, the way that that box reads like it wants to play, I think it's going to be an easier box to play, but it's going to be very hard to play against because you have to figure out the new wounding strategy into into the Night Troopers. You have to play wounding mechanics in a very interesting type of way, and I think Night Troopers, Veers gets really interesting when you can just go, my first turn of the game, I'm guaranteed to activate Night Troopers. They're going to be up the board. I'm going to back them into points. And now they may not activate the rest of the game, but they're going to be on those points for the rest of the game, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because we're used to that, wound to get someone off the point, or wound to cause a revenge trigger so you can get that out of the way a little early. Now it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of really works together.
Yeah, it's like, do you kill the night troopers? You just put 3 wound tokens on them and then not kill another stormtrooper until they activate again. That's where it's going to get rough. And then or you can try to wound Morgan Elsbeth, but she's got some type of revenge trigger, which is why I think pairing that with Mando DTE and some Death Troopers. Now every time you're wounding stuff, you got to ask questions because you got Mando running around. You got the healing from the night troopers that's going to happen if you wound a stormtrooper. I think there's a lot to love with the Morgan Elsbeth box, and that box is only going to get better because we're getting more stormtroopers.
Yeah,
Hello.
and the stormtrooper situation is getting really interesting because when the stormtroopers, like the original one, stormtrooper sergeant came out, it was so small and it felt like it was like we're gonna get more stormtroopers, but then when, and then as we keep getting more, it's been interesting to see how that like sub faction has kind of developed over time.
I want to know what it's going to be like for Captain Phasma to get 4 extra dice.
Yeah, not real happy about that. As someone that plays Fixer, I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I'm like, well, Sergeant is going to get better, but
Yeah,
also Morgan Captain Phasma might be a list to absolutely watch out for. The night trooper Enoch does not care about tag other than stormtrooper.
yeah, that is true. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that all kind of works together in interesting synergy ways.
I also think Morgan is going to be really good against revenge trigger lists because she has a really cool play pattern of attack something, coordinate, fire, strain, and then I'm going to go manipulating hand to force you to take that strain. Well, you're dead. It does not trigger any revenge trigger in the game outside of Cassian's.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to work around.
So, obviously you're locked in with Boss Hunter. Any ideas to what, or are you keeping your second list a secret?
I am keeping my second list pretty tightly guarded, as I have not really shown much on it. But I will be bringing Boss Hunter, and the Boss Hunter list. You will expect it to be the exact same as it has been since the Austin GT and LVO.
That's my recommendation. Play your comfort list.
I will give you guys one hint though. I'm still rocking a full Galactic Republic list. That will probably never change.
That's currently what my plan is too. I'm on Mace Padme is my main comfort list. I'll play that into most things.
Okay.
I'm okay with spoiling it. It's been on Omnis's channel. It's Mace Rex 501st, Padme Pawn 7 Scorch. List has a lot of movement. List is pretty good. I'm playing it on Never Tell because I like the matchup into Cassian into Never Tell. I want to avoid sabotage if I'm fighting Cassian.
Yeah, everything's way too close for your comfort.
That and their revenge triggers just, oh yeah, I'm going to move up both my sides of the board up to your midline on those 2 points. It becomes really hard to contest that. But I'm on Vader. I'm on Vader for my second list. And it's probably going to be Vader Mundi, but I'm still dabbling with the Vader Iden list. It's a lot different. Iden kind of performs like Armorer in that list where she just runs up and melees something down and is all the way across the board. And it's like, that's actually,
yeah, being able to have all that movement and the 3 extra dice makes Iden kind of terrifying in melee.
her expertise is also just cracked.
Yeah, it's nothing to scoff at because it just removes. I think it's 3 expertise. You remove 2 blocks and get 2 crits. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I guess I didn't want to have fun.
Yeah, no. Very surprising we didn't even see anyone like try that at last year. Like again, Vader 2 was all over the place, but Jedi Hunter kind of took a backseat. Now it's quite the opposite. Emperor Servant's sitting at like a 30% win rate.
I think that's mainly because Emperor's Servant with the extra hits just was better overall. And, even if you couldn't get to somebody, it wasn't the end of the world. And I don't think that Vader 1 was really able to make as much of an impact in that sense when you wanted to play more of a range game and not a melee game. Because everyone was able to do so much range attack at that point because Iden wasn't trying to punch. ISF didn't want to punch. Hask didn't want to punch. They all wanted to shoot. Even though two of them didn't mind punching, Iden and Hask are one of those characters. The list built around with movement and with so much damage with Dark Troopers and ISF, Iden, Hask being able to just outrange anything, and then Vader just kind of walking up and throwing a lightsaber and then getting reshuffled or refreshing all the force was really, really nice. Even though Vader 1 comes with an extra force, nice, you can technically have a force neutral Vader activation every single time he activates. So you
Yeah.
didn't have to be bogged down by what if I Shatterpoint him again and use another force, but I already have my ISF coming up and they're wounded, so they cost 2. I didn't have to worry about that. Every time I activated Vader 2, I would just activate him, get a force back, use a force, put him back, and he had 12 health. If he dies in the game, your opponent got real lucky with dice because that's a lot of health to get through.
Yeah. I think the reason why Vader 2 has fallen so low right now is specifically because it's too easy to get him into that reshuffle spiral, and he has to wound to eventually stop that. And I think right now, when you are forced to wound and not being able to wound when you absolutely need it, I think it's a huge detriment to his list. But I don't know. Vader Emperor Servant, he's a good individual piece, but just for some reason, right now in the game, he is kind of the worst version of Anakin.
Yeah, I think with the changes to Anakin, like Anakin became so much better because you felt like a primary turn where, I'm going to walk up and I don't care if I have to spend the 2 force to get a kill. I get to move my entire army of clones or Padawans up the board, which felt super, super nice. And being able to actually do something with that was so good.
I liked what Anakin did to the game, but the problem is as soon as we got like Jin and Delta, I think Anakin started to take a huge backseat. Uh, like Delta completely just eats the Jedi lunch. This is why we're not seeing near as much Mundi as we did in the previous part of the year. Like right after the balance pass, Mundi was probably, in my opinion, like the top primary of the game at the moment. And then we get Bazin Turret, we get Delta, and now Mundi is, I don't think, very good outside of Jedi Hunter lists.
Yeah, I think that Mundi wants Jedi, but then clones are kind of taken over right now if you want to play Galactic Republic. And if you're not, then you're kind of a fool not playing some kind of Rebels list with Cassian.
Yeah. I will say this. I think Mandalorians get better with that new mission.
That'll be interesting. I will. My best friend I got in the game. He hates me the fact that I got him into the game. I love him because I got into the game. It's so one of those situations. He's actually going to Adepticon this year, so I'm excited for him. And he's actually looking at not playing Mandalorians, but if this mission ends up being very good for Mandalorians, then maybe he'll stick with it.
I think it's going to be very good for Paz Vizsla.
That'll be nice.
Paz has now a guaranteed target of where he wants to go. The fact that everything is geared towards that center of the map and that there is no side active objectives means you just gun them towards the middle and you just let them be a nuisance in the middle of the board, and you can probably sit there the entire game.
Yeah.
It's kind of like where I like Paz on shifting. I can put him on that center point and he can kind of be a threat and do what he wants to do. Very good for him. He also gets extra mobility with the way their mechanic of that list works. So I think Mandalorians are going to be in a good spot with that one. I'm think Riff Tampson is going to be something to watch out for as well. Riff can get very killy. I think Riff is a good rogue choice, but I'm not sure if he's going to break the mold for Worlds.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But it'll be a nice change of scenery for us, especially we haven't really had anything that's drastically impacted anything since Riff, and even Riff didn't get as much play as we wanted to originally.
He is good. I also think the
He is.
Aqua Droids are good. That box is amazing. I think what's holding Separatists back in general is just the rest of the faction is not up to Riff Tampson's level.
Yeah, I think the rest of the faction is really what's hurting him, and he's not even getting play with other separatists. He's getting play with other scoundrels.
He gets played with his own box, and then right now it's like you see him paired with Mando, Dangar, Weequays, and it's just the order deck shenanigans. You get that. I think that was Pierce of Christopher's list as well.
That was the other half of it. Yeah.
Yeah, playing that Riff with Mando. That I've tested that list. That list gets crazy when you can start stacking the bottom 2 or 3 cards of your order deck.
Yeah, you got so much play with so many different cards in there. It's unique in its way of doing that, which is really fun.
Yep. But no, I think wounding, it's weird that I say, the game is about scoring, but I think wounding is just as important right now in terms of the scoring aspect, because how you score right now is generally a lot through wounds. High wound count games are more and more common. I watched the game the other day. It was like 7 wounds to 7 wounds. And it used to be, 3 or 4 wounds used to be the average, but now I'm seeing games with 8 or 9 be the average, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's interesting how it used to not be as many. Like on average, it used to be maybe 7 total, but now we're looking at upwards of 10 to 15 every single game, which is very, very weird for the game, because I think I started out playing super aggro before the Jedi Hunter changes. I was just having fun playing the game before I got into the competitive scene, and I was playing like Vader Hunter or Jedi Hunter, Maul, Savage, Django, Arfs, and the Night Sisters, so I could have a coordinated fire exposed for everybody, and I can give everyone extra dice just to kill as much as I can. And that was actually a detriment to me, but now it's more along the lines where you kind of want to kill more, which is definitely weird when I've been trying to teach myself not to kill everything as possible.
Yeah, you can't, like I said, you can't wound willy-nilly unless you're a Vader Jedi Hunter list where you're just trying to wound every turn, because that's what that list can do. And that's why, like, outside of Cassian, I think the Jedi Hunter list is the one aggro list where he goes, as long as you're not playing on the open wide maps like Nevertell or First Contact, I think Jedi Hunter is a threat on sabotage and shifting in such a way where, you have these revenge triggers. Cool. Feed me more stuff for my stuff to kill. I think it is a strategy. I think Vader's in probably the best spot he's ever been, in my actual opinion, for the game. I think he is up there. He is lurking in the shadows of Cassian and Boss.
Yeah, he's kind of like that mystery wild card that we have to account for.
And that's always like the last meta for Iden. In my opinion, the sleeper was Armor. Armor was the one that was kind of sneaking on Kanan and Iden's backs. She did very well at Adepticon, and I think Vader Jedi Hunter is going to do exceptionally well into the World Championship. I think he will probably be in the top 8 for sure. There's probably going to be a Jedi Hunter list in there somewhere. That's would be my guess. If people play them, depends on what they want to do. But
Worlds is that place that you're gonna find the weirdest lists possible that are gonna be kind of outside the meta, because this is the last time for people to make their name on the Adepticon kind of thing. I know my buddy Doug brought a full Empire list last year, and Moff Thrawn was kind of one of those like hidden gems within the anti-revenge list, and was able to do very, very well with it. getting up to third or fourth. It was one of the two.
Yeah, I played against Sean Picconi last year into Mothron, and I was running Mandos, and it was a tough game. But I was able to take it with just jumps were really important in that game. Uh,
Yeah.
Adepticon is notorious for crowded maps with few ingresses, so Mandos are another wild pick where I think Mandos care less about the matchup and more about the map itself. So if the map has a ton of ingress, I don't think it's going to be good for the Mandos. If the maps have few ingress, I think the Mandos are going to love it. Because
They just have so many jumps that allow the elevation to not matter.
that's the advantage that they kind of have to rely on. If they have that as an advantage, they're great. But if there are so many ingresses on the map where the jumps don't mean anything, I think Mandos just kind of get punted around. They rely on having the terrain advantage. In my opinion.
Yeah.
That's just the way I've seen it. I think armor is still really good, but 7 health supports is rough.
Yeah, 7 health supports is really where it's falling short. They may have a lot of shoves and mobility, but that 7 health is really hurting them.
Yep. Coverts they cannot give them 8 health. Coverts need to stay at
No,
7.
they can't.
Not with how hard they hit. Holy crap. Coverts are probably my pick for the best 4-cost support in the game.
Yeah, I'd agree there. They have the most consistent damage, and they have like, oh well, we want to be in melee. Well, they have impact. If I want to be in range, oh well, I have a free force ability that allows me to get sharpshooter. It's like there's so many options. It's really really fun. They are definitely one of the better 4-cost supports in the entire game. I'd definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, no, it's a very good spot. This kind of just like went off into just an overall meta discussion instead of like specifically on the kill button, but I definitely think we covered a lot. Like the importance of wounding listeners is you need to wound right now in this current game state. You need to actually wounding supports is probably more important now than it's ever been in the game because it's going to be the way that you beat Cassian. Is you need to make sure that they're not scoring with those supports and that they're relying on their secondaries and primaries. And that's where you can kind of get them.
I think it's also important to note that wounding is very important right now more than ever. But I'd also like to make it clear that not wounding every single time, all the time. Sometimes you got to think about when you should wound specifically for kind of the game state and the board state of how things may actually come about.
Yeah, don't trigger revenge triggers that you can go, well, I'm going to get a wound and take 1 point, but they take 2 points with revenge triggers. That's the type of stuff you got to watch out for. But if you get a clean shot at wounding their support, it might give say you're going to score, you control 2 points and you're going for a 3rd point control, and you take the wound and they'll prevent you from scoring 3 because of a revenge trigger. Still take that wound. You're still ahead on points. Make it so that they can't count because it means you can respond later. And it's in a interesting spot right now that because if you're not wounding rebels, it ends up being a lot harder when they can just punt you nonstop and those bombs start adding up. You may not have to wound, but you generally need to play super aggressively into rebels, at least in terms of shoving them off the point and maintaining control. And I think that's where Hunter Boss has such a huge play style into them, is that they can play the shove game and the control game. They just got to be fast at it.
Yeah, being able to get 4 shoves with Hunter, 2 shoves with Wrecker, 2 shoves with 7 Scorch up to 4. Then you have the 212th able to do it as well. Boss being able to get some, Fixer getting 1. It's a really shovey list, but it also like I mentioned earlier, it's a very killy list if I want it to be.
And that's the strength of like what your lists need to be able to play the scoring game and the output game. And right now. And if it doesn't play well into the scoring factor, it better have revenge, because if you're just playing a kill list that doesn't have the ability to score, your lists have to be omnipresent in what they want to do. You got to cover like 2 of the 3 categories. The worst type of list right now, in my opinion, is the full displacement list. I do not think the full playing like Plo Koon with Kiara Mundi, I don't think that cuts it right now, because everything and their mother can just wound the Jedi list.
Yeah, they're just too squishy right now, and that's where they lack the most there.
Yep. But no, meta, it's definitely an aggro meta. Revenge is part of it, but aggression and attrition is all over the place. So if you're going to Adepticon, be prepared for heavy output. It's going to be played. You're going to see Boss. You're going to see Cassian. Pray to the dice gods that Cassian rolls really badly on his bombs.
I do every time. Don't worry.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Hunter. Any more thoughts you want to talk about for like the importance of wounding anything before we close out?
No, I think we pretty much hit it. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to be very important in this meta. But then just make sure that you're thinking about everything every time you do wound. I think those are really the big points on it. Other than, make sure that you are wounding, because it is going to be a very important thing into especially rebels.
I will say this: the one place where you can get some leniency on playing the wound game is if your list is high on force economy and you are playing on Never Tell Me the Odds. Challenging the odds is a good way to counter revenge lists, because you can still maintain scoring parity by getting wounds and earning extra victory points.
Without a doubt.
All right, listeners, this has been The Chosen One, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. Hunter, we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys at Adepticon and listening to your Adepticon prep episodes, as I'm sure they're coming up. I know you're covering missions right now, if I'm right.
Yeah, we're doing missions right now, but soon we'll be covering our Adepticon prep or any other random releases that the game wants to do.
Looking forward to your mission overview for the new one, because that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I haven't got to look into it, but it's going to be a lot of fun, especially seeing what other factions like to play on it.
And with that, listeners, peace. Thank you for watching this episode of The Chosen One. If you'd like to watch the next video, you can watch the one in the link above. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can listen to the playlist below. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you for your support. Please like and subscribe.